Hidden in the depths of the mind is a secret tomb where knowledge, fear, mystery, and a macabre sense of enjoyment is held. Each corner is resplendent with its own curiosities, and each curiosity appeals to a different soul. You're listening to The Crypt of the Unknown, a podcast that discusses the realms of the horrific and the fantastic in print, games, or on the screen. And now, introducing you to the Guardians of the Crypt, your tour guides. Here are Webb and Stefan J.D. Greetings, weary travelers, to the Crypt of the Unknown, a podcast where we discuss the fantastical and the horrific, the wonderful and the magical. Well, that just sounds a little sappy when we put it that way. We basically discuss fun shit. I am the critical android Webb, and joining me, my co-host for this episode and everything else, Stefan J.D.
Hello, everyone, and welcome.
See, we needed you to bring the tone down to the creepier element after my happy-go-lucky intro.
Yes. Could have done a Mark Hamill Joker, but I was like, nah, not today.
Now, people are going to listen to this. Why is that one guy so weirdly happy for a Crypt of the Unknown?
Irony?
I'll take that. It is a satirical take on it. It's so finely nuanced that some people just don't get it, and that's fine.
Yep, that's true.
I'm sticking with that explanation. We'll go with that one. But anyway, we have an interesting episode here today where we're going to be doing a list where we are going to be discussing and ranking the first 6 Mega Man games for the NES, a series that is near and dear to my heart, and Stefan, I know you enjoy them quite a bit as well.
Out of the 1 through 6 of Mega Man, sure, there's maybe one I don't, but most of them, yes, I am a big Mega Man fan. Not as big as you, Webb, but I am a big Mega Man fan.
What was your introduction to the series?
Actually, one of my first memories growing up is literally holding Mega Man 2's box art in my hand. We had a video rental store that we always went to called Powerhouse Video or something, early 90s. And we switched over to another one down the street just for a week. And they had Mega Man 2 there. They didn't at Powerhouse. And I was holding on to it. I was like, wow, this looks cool. And then I took it home and it was really hard.
Mega Man 2 was my first experience with the series as well. I don't remember when I got it, but I distinctly remember having it and playing through it, and it started a fascination with that series that's lasted through all of my life. Only ever had for the NES, I only ever owned Mega Man 2. I didn't own any of the other games for the NES. I did own the Complete X series on the Super Nintendo. Oh, wait, I owned Mega Man 7 on the Super Nintendo, but that's, not an NES game. So I owned every one of them for the Super Nintendo. I did not own Mega Man Soccer, for very good reason.
Oh, that's the best one, though.
I know, it holds a special place in my rectum, I guess.
That's a good spot.
Yeah, well, for this game it is. You're telling me, because that is a piece of crap. But the core games have always delighted me, and I didn't get to play a lot of them till later in life. I think it was when I got the Mega Man Legacy Collection Mega Man Anniversary Collection for the GameCube, and that was my first time getting to play the ones that I didn't play as a child. To this day, like I said, I've just continued to hold a very special place in my heart for this series. I have beaten all the main installments of the core franchise, the original, which is now up to Mega Man 11 as of 2018. So, yeah, when it comes to these games, I do consider myself kind of, I don't want to say an expert because I don't speedrun them, but I can, beat Mega Man 2 and Mega Man 3 deathless. And I adore this series to death.
Yeah, that's pretty good, actually. I would say, and we'll get into this, but Mega Man 2 is definitely the easiest out of the bunch. Mega Man 3, that's actually a typically hard game, I would say, for most people. So if you can do it deathless, then that's something I would say that's nothing to scoff at.
Well, see, that's the thing. When you start playing these games, maybe it's just because I've been hardwired for them, because I was playing them since I was 5. For me, I don't find them to be a challenge. To an extent they can be, but I don't find them to be as hard as other people make them out to be. Because this franchise is often well known for its difficulty, and I'll be damned if I don't find any of these games to be that difficult. Some of them can be a little frustrating. We'll get to that, too. But in general, I don't have a problem with this series. It started off in 1987 with the release of the first Mega Man game, otherwise known as Man, in Japan. It has a series tradition for having so many elements taken from music references. Rock and roll, the two main bots that were created by Dr. Light. And then there's Proto Man, otherwise known as blues, in Japan. And then other references to, like, I think it's, what is it? Bass and treble here in the States. They were introduced in Mega Man 7. I think they're the gospel and forte or something like that for the G and F clef in Japan. So all these music references, not to mention what happens in Mega Man X5 with all the Guns N' Roses references.
Correct.
Yeah, Duff McWhalen. Still one of the best names ever invented.
I mean, you gotta have some new boss names, and, it looks like they were running out a little at some point.
Well, the story on Mega Man X5, I guess, is that the person who was in charge of translating the game, she was dating a guy who was a huge Guns N' Roses fan. And because, it had just kind of inundated her life at that point in time, she decided to name the Robot Masters in Mega Man X5 after Guns N' Roses members. So you have, like, Squid Adler, Grizzly Slash, Duff McWhalen, and I just think that is perfect.
Yeah, that's an awesome story.
The story of Mega Man, a lot of people credit Kaiji Inafune for being the father of Mega Man. He's not. He was certainly worked on it quite a bit and was one of the progenitors of it in terms of some of the design, but there was more to it than just him. The first game was actually directed by Akira Kitamura and was produced by Takashi Nishiyama. And Inafune was an artist for things, but he wasn't like the initial creator. He would kind of take things over and largely become the face of the series, so to say. But his story has kind of had a roadblock after he left Capcom, tried to make Mighty No. 9, turned into a disaster, and he's largely just kind of been behind the scenes ever since.
Yeah, there's a couple creators from Capcom that have gone off on their own, and sometimes it didn't work out for them. This happens a lot, actually, with some creators, big names in the industry, like Akira Yamaoka. When he left Konami after Silent Hill, he went to do music for other games, like Shadows of the Damned and so forth. And, it's up to debate whether he did just as good of work there as he did at Konami. So it's always a thing. Sometimes when you strike out on your own, you got to fail at first until you get better at it. It's just something that I think happens to a lot of people.
It does. And Mega Man is an example of things that have struck out at times and then succeeded. Because as most people know, the first game is not nearly as highly regarded as the second is. They refined the formula. And then there's a period of serious stagnation that a lot of people will say happened, and where they say that happened will vary. And then the Mega Man X series revived things, and then that hit the skids after a while. Mega Man Zero was also considered a high point again. The Legends series has been hit or miss. It's been growing in popularity in hindsight, which is fantastic, because I love Mega Man Legends.
It's serious.
I adore it. And then there's like Battle Network, Star Force. There's a lot of iterations of Mega Man that have come and gone. And some of them, they all have their strengths, they all have their weaknesses. But for the time being, we're going to dive into the first 6 games that were released for the NES that ranged from the original's release back in 1987 to the final one that was released in 1993 with Mega Man 6.
Yeah, 1993. I was still a child, kind of.
I was 8 years old.
8. I was 6. Going on 7.
I can still remember, though, when Nintendo Power had the contest to submit your own Robot Masters for Mega Man 6. And I remember seeing all the entrants and realizing how terrible some of them looked. But knowing that I could never draw, my skills as an artist are terrible.
You could have just did Critical Android, man.
Yeah, if I had thought of it at the time, yes.
You said, I just want him to be an android. Like, I know all those other guys are robots, but let's have an actual android ones.
Yeah, an actual android. None of this robot crap. I want something with a soul, god damn it.
Yeah, put the ghost in the shell.
Yes, a ghost in the machine, damn it. We'll go from bottom to top. Stefan and I will alternate our selections as we work our way from the bottom to the top. So I think I'll start off, and then that way you can get the last word on things when we reach the penultimate game, or the penultimate and the ultimate games. So, for my number 6, at the very bottom of the list, I have Mega Man 1. This game is not bad, but it is very unpolished. Very unpolished. And mind you, when I say this, I don't think it's fair to compare this game to the ones that came afterwards when you're trying to rank them. Because you can say, oh, well, that only has 6 Robot Masters, and Mega Man 2 has 8, and all the others have 8. Yeah, yes, but this was the first game in the series, so you can't really criticize it for things that came after the fact. You can criticize it for what it was doing at the time. And some of the issues I have with this game are the difficulty level is cheap at points. Like, I don't mind a tough game, but I do mind when it seems unfair. And there's certain things that are incredibly hard to dodge. Like, for example, in Electric Man stage, there's these green robots that shoot out these laser beams from their top and bottom, the eyes, and they send out these eye blasts when you're on a ladder. And it's hard to position yourself in between those blasts. What you gotta do, you just gotta wait. Wait for them to go by. Just wait. And it slows down the pacing of the game terribly, because you're just waiting for all these things to go by, then you can climb up the ladder. And Elect Man himself is awful because his weapon does so much freaking damage. It can kill you in 3 hits. And it is harder than hell to avoid because the size of the attack just takes up so much real estate on the screen. I don't feel like it was play tested even. It's just a ridiculous amount of damage it does. Mind you, if you know his weakness, the rolling cutter, it can take him out fast, so he's easily susceptible to things too, but I feel like that trade-off is not fair because if you don't have the weapon, he is going to be so difficult to beat. It is really an unfair fight there. And then some of the other mechanics, Mega Man has an odd momentum to him where he kind of just continues to move at times when you try to stop him. So that throws it off a little bit. But that's a complaint that can be done in, not entirely fair because he doesn't have the momentum in the later games. So it feels like going back to it, it's not great. But at the same time, I still feel like the momentum is just really bad. And then there's a couple other bosses that really aggravate me in how they function and how you're supposed to beat them. Like, for example, I don't remember the name of the boss. A lot of them, even the ones that aren't Robot Masters, have names to them, but they're not printed in the game or in the manual for the most part. But there's the water treatment robot that is in the Wily Castle that kind of just randomly appears and goes around the stage, this little arena that you're in, and you can throw some blocks at it or just try to shoot it, and they get faster the more of them you kill. They're very hard to dodge, and then the real thing that pisses me off is that you can use Gutsman's attack where you just pick up blocks and throw them to take them out, some of them. But if you die and have to do the boss battle again, the blocks do not reappear. They're just gone. So you can't use what was the effective weapon against them anymore, which is not fair. And then Gutsman's weapon in general is just shit because it's situational. You can only use it if there's a block you can pick up. And then Bomb Man's weapon is rough because it's got a time delay on it and only affects a small area. So that's effective. The effectiveness of that is worthless. You do have a good attack in Electric Man's weapon, solid 3-way attack. So at least you've got some other useful things. The other 4 powers are pretty decent. There's just a lot of things that could have been polished up on this that you see in the later games that could have made this stronger. But I feel the level design is bland. The music is kind of bland, except for the fact that Elect Man stage kind of rips off Journeys faithfully. But everything else about the game is decent, but not great. Or it's sometimes not even good. And that puts it at the bottom of the list for me.
Wow, that's a harsh criticism. I mean, I agree with most of those things. Not all of them, but most of them. I'm surprised to see MM1 at the bottom of your list.
And what makes the bottom of your list?
All right, bottom of the list for me, people might be surprised about this one. Maybe a lot of people might agree. It is Mega Man 5. The special reason for this, I mean, there's a lot of things that the game tried to add. You know, they put Beat the Bird in there. Didn't really add much to the game as far as I'm concerned. They put the M-Tank in there. Again, didn't really add much. We had E-Tanks. They put a vehicle section with a mini-boss at the end. Really tough spot in the game because you have to do that perfectly, and then you have to do the boss perfectly. Otherwise, you have to do them both over again. It's specifically annoying just for that reason. There's also parts in Crystal Man stage that I call the Deadpools because there's these falling crystals, and they don't have a specific rate at which they fall. So if you see like 2 go down and you pause for a second, you expect another 2 to go down, but it might be 3. It might be 1. It might be another 2. You don't know. So you're basically jumping on a whim. And to me, what's the point of having a life bar in a game if you can just instantly die from platforming constantly? It kind of negates the whole point of trying to survive for me against enemies, and that brings it down for me. There's a specific level. I'm pretty sure it's a Wily level. I actually didn't look it up, but you are on platforms, and there are these birds, and anyone who's played Mega Man 5 will probably remember this instantly. And if you fall off the platforms, which are moving forward the whole time you're on them, you die. And these birds come up and hit you right in the face and knock you back, and the platform will keep moving. So you basically can't get hit by, I want to say, like 10 enemies, and you have to make it to the other side. I probably played that, I don't even know, like over 30 times or something crazy my first time through Mega Man 5. So that all brings it down for me. The specific, fuck you placement of enemies, I do not appreciate in most Mega Man games, but this one takes the top tier for that. So I will put number 5 as my number 6 at the bottom of my list.
You don't like Mega Man 5, do you?
Nope.
Well, we'll get back to that later, I suppose. We'll get back to that later.
Can't wait to hear you defend that.
Oh, I will defend it, sir. I will defend it. For my number 5, then, as we move our way up the list, at number 5, for me, is Mega Man 4. And, I put Mega Man 4 at number 5. It's better than 1. All the games are better than 1, in my opinion. But Mega Man 4 has some things that I do really like about it, and then there's some things that I absolutely do not like about it. One of the things I want to point out is that it has, to me, 2 of the better songs in the entire pantheon of the NES Mega Man songs. One of them is Dr. Cossack's Stage 2. It's just this really just groovy kind of pumping theme that has like the right amount of tension, but it's just got this beat to it that kind of propels and matches the action, because part of it happens in an auto-scroller, and just like the tempo of it just kind of perfectly matches with everything that you're trying to do. So it's a great song. And then Dive Man has a great theme as well that has this nice little start and stop in the middle of the song, and it's great. It's one of my favorite Mega Man songs, so I got to give it a lot of credit for that. It's also the game that introduced the Mega Buster. There are some people who do not like the idea of Mega Man having a charge shot. I feel like it was a good addition, largely because when you're trying to take out bosses, it gives you a better shot at them as opposed to just using your regular Mega Buster. This actually gives you a chance to take them out and not have to rely on the weapons entirely. That being said, some of the weapons in this one really bother me. I do not like them, Sam I Am. I do not like these weapons on hand. Particularly Dive Man's torpedo, because it's a homing torpedo, and it just goes wherever the fuck it wants. Like, it's the weakness for Drill Man, and good luck hitting Drill Man with it, because it can just go around the arena for 5 seconds before it even finds its fucking target. So good luck using that. Drill Man himself, his weapon has a thing to it that you might not even realize, where you hit B once to fire, and then you hit B once a second time to detonate it mid-flight before it hits something. And like that's they don't even teach you that gimmick, but it's a necessary one for beating the final boss, for beating the Wily, one of the Wily capsules. And the rest of the Robot Masters, to be fair, we were kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel once we got to 3, because that's the one that introduces Top Man, who is possibly the worst Robot Master ever.
But he's got cool level music.
He does. He does have cool... Well, let's be fair. Most of the Robot Masters in 3 have cool level music.
True, but since we're talking about 4, I also will throw in that Pharaoh Man is pretty cool, too.
Fair point. Pharaoh Man, not only a cool Robot Master, but also has a cool theme. I will surrender that point. You are correct, sir. But then we have, like, Dust Man, Ring Man, and it's like, okay, and Toad Man and Bright Man. And I say, oh, God, okay, we're really trying to scrape some shit together now, aren't we?
Because isn't like the lore of Mega Man that these robots basically are built, which may happen in the real world someday, that they're just there to basically make us lazy? Like, isn't Elect Man like supposed to just like be our electrician? Isn't that like his thing? So what's Frog Man doing? Is he just like swimming for our entertainment, or like does he dance on the weekends to pay for his college? What's Frog Man?
I don't know. What's Ring Man supposed to do? Like, is he a jeweler?
Like, does he work at the carnival? I don't know.
He either helps people with ring toss, or he's just like, this is a nice setting for this stone. I think she'll really enjoy it. I don't know what he does. And what, Pharaoh Man just like, does he work at Caesar's Palace? Like, what does he do?
He's worried about Martians attacking. Is that what you're getting at?
Yes. He was supposed to be in Mars Attacks. He was supposed... God damn you.
Xboxer, I got
you. You can see him at the end in the background behind Tom Jones.
Hey, he just wants to provide for his kids, Pharaoh Man. He's there for his kids.
I hate you. I hate you so much right now. You derailed our Mega Man ranking into a Mars Attacks conversation.
Totally did. I'm sorry.
And the fact that I know what you're talking about, too, is the problem. I just want the American people to know that we still have 2 out of 3 branches of government, and that ain't bad.
Hey, it's real world parallels. Real world.
I actually unironically enjoy that movie, though.
It is. It's weird. It's oddly enjoying.
Oh my god, that's got to be one of our episodes we do in the future, Mars Attacks.
I would love that.
We have to throw that movie a bone.
After that, yeah.
Again, so Pharaoh Man, yeah. But there's... The level design is pretty good. I mean, there's some great things to do. I like the sinking sand of Pharaoh Man. But one of the other things that really gets me, and this kind of throws off the rhythm of a lot of the battles, is that the bosses do insane amounts of contact damage, more so than any other game in the franchise. If you run into these guys, they're going to take off a huge chunk of your health bar. And they tend to know this, and they try to run at you and try to ram you. And this makes it really bad when you're trying to defeat Dive Man, and his weakness is Skull Man's weapon, which is a small rotating shield. So you have to get really up close and personal in order to fight him. And then Toad Man is just super easy, where you can just interrupt his rain dance by shooting him, and then just keep doing it, and it just puts him into a stun lock pattern. So there's really things about it that aggravate me tremendously, and no sir, I don't like it. It's not a bad game. It's better than 1. I still enjoy parts of it, but it is one that I find myself not wanting to return to unless it's to go to Dr. Cossack's castle and just rock out.
There you go. It's funny enough because in my notes here with autocorrect, I kept putting in Cossack and it kept changing it to Kodak. So it says Dr. Kodak.
I am Dr. Kodak. I take pictures of your robot. You have problem?
You have problem? No, we do it all the time here in Russia.
I take photos of robots all the time. This is what we do. I have nothing else to do. I build a robot, I take photo. Fuck off.
Yeah, try out some free robot condoms. Next in my number 5 is Mega Man 6.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
So, has been said by its creators that they did, in fact, half-ass this game. And that's still okay. I'm still okay with the fact that they admit, yeah, just kind of whatever. We're like, just another Mega Man, just whatever, man. You know, there's some things you do get in here. You do get the power mode, and you do get to fly around, so you basically become the Rocketeer. Or, if you don't like that analogy, RoboCop 3.
I think I was happier with the Rocketeer.
Or, yeah, if you hate both of those, then maybe Boba Fett. The point is that you get a jetpack.
Mega Man? Mega Man? Where? Into the Sarlacc.
But yeah, he does look like he's flying. You know, it's the greatest thing in the world is to actually see Mega Man with a jetpack on. That's probably why I rank it above 5, is I actually do enjoy that power. It feels like it was something they added to the game that actually does help you in some way. Like I said, Mega Man 5 added a bunch of crap that didn't add any new layers to the game. This thing does. That's why I put it up there. You know, it should have been like a great comeback for the series. If they had changed it maybe a little bit more, you know, they had all this time to think about it. They could have changed it up a little bit more, but I guess, you know, just had to wait till later with 9 and 10, which are 2 Mega Man games I will admit I haven't played yet. But other than that, I'd rank it above 5 specifically for that reason. It adds something that actually works, that looks cool. And I actually do like the robot bosses. They're not tough. The game isn't tough. So I rank it above 5.
You are right. The game is... I'll have more to say about it, I guess, in a little bit. And then we can kind of hash it out with a point and counterpoint on that, which I'm sure you'll do when we get to Mega Man 4. I'm sure you have some points about what I said.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so coming in for my number 4. Actually, this kind of leads right off it, because I do have Mega Man 6 as my 4th best Mega Man game.
Oh.
So, here's why I put it above 4. I think this is a solid game that I don't really have any complaints about it. I think that it is like just a solid good game from pretty much start to finish. I do feel it's lacking in some of the music tracks. I don't find the music to be as memorable in this game as in the others. Plant Man's theme is pretty good, and Flame Man has a pretty good build-up to it as well. Like, it kind of starts off slow and then kind of, like, builds up in energy, which is a rarity in Mega Man songs, which are mostly just, like, energetic from the start. And you're right that the addition of the jet adapter for Rush makes this game a lot more interesting. But it also has... and I guess this is kind of... Again, this is I wouldn't necessarily say it's a complaint so much as it is a missed opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
There is... If you want to take full access of this game, or full advantage of this game, you do have to kind of follow a certain order if you want to make it work. Because you get the jet adapter by going to Plant Man stage and beating Plant Man. And you get the power adapter, I believe, by beating... I think you get it by beating Flame Man. Yes. So if you want to get those 2 power-ups that you need for the rest of the game, you got to go after those guys first. And you really need to get those first, because this game divides its masters up into 2 different paths. You have, like, the elemental robot masters, and you have the fighting robot masters. Because you have Wind Man, which is just a derivative of Air Man, Flame Man, which is a derivative of Heat Man, Plant Man, which is a derivative of Wood Man, and you have Blizzard Man, which is Blizzard Man.
Like his ice, maybe?
Yeah, kind of Iceman. Yeah, it's derivative Iceman, basically.
Yeah.
So, we've recycled these bosses before. And the thing is, if you want to go after and pick up Beat, then you have to have the jet adapter and the power adapter, because those can be used in the warrior stages. Nightman, Yamato Man, Centaur Man, and Tomahawk Man. Did I say Tomahawk is Knight, Tomahawk, Centaur, Yamato?
Yep.
Each one of those levels have branching paths that can be accessed through use of the jet and power adapter. And if you don't use them, then you don't get to the actual version of the boss. You still fight a duplicate of them, but you don't pick up the adapters for beat by doing it. So if you really want to 100% this game, you either have to revisit levels after the fact, or if you want to do it in one clean sweep, you have to go after Plant Man and Flame Man first, which kind of forces your hand in terms of where you got to go. And I don't like when Mega Man games force your hand that much, because it kind of takes out some of the, I guess, the freewheeling fun of it, of being able to go after whoever you want first. So that is a missed opportunity. If they had just started you off with the jet adapter and the power adapter, would have been better.
Yeah.
I barely use any of the weapons that are presented in this game outside of the boss battles. I find almost no use for them. I do like how the graphics on this, in terms of the settings, the stages look better than ever. These are the best looking stages, for the most part, in terms of little graphical details and touches. They might not be the most interesting in terms of playing them, but in terms of design, the look of them, they do look great. And I do like the fact that they tried to mix things up with the adapters. I like the fact that they tried to mix things up with the branching paths. It does a lot of things right, but I feel like you said, it's a little phoned in or half-assed. Could it have been better? Easily. Is it still a solid game start to finish? Yeah, and that's why it kind of lands in the middle of the pack for me.
That's about fair. My only counter-argument, because we talked just about this one thing before we were recording, was that starting off with Pharaoh Man and... who's the other guy?
Flame Man.
Flame Man is that maybe the only way to get people to get access into this series this late in the game was that those are the two easiest levels to start off with. So maybe that was the rationale behind it. That's the only thing I can think of. Otherwise, yeah, it's always better to pick your robot masters the way you see fit. But that was the only thing I could think of as to why that was the way it was.
See, a lot of people online claim that Plant Man stage is one of the hardest.
I'm surprised. That was the first one I beat going into that, and I didn't think it was that hard.
Well, there's a section there where enemies are popping up out of the water like crazy. They're predictable, but they're popping up like crazy. There's all the springs, bugs flying at you. I can beat it without any issue. Other people cannot. They struggle with that stage, and I don't know. I found it pretty easy to get through.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So then, with the thoughts kind of fully exercised there on 6, what one falls as your number 4? You said it was Mega Man 1 earlier, right?
Yes. So Mega Man 1, my only counter-arguments really are that I actually do think the level design is pretty rad. I think they hadn't figured out the formula of how to play with the colors correctly in the Mega Man world yet, so it's just kind of all these different ideas thrown into it. The tower at the end when you face off against, Dark Mega Man and your clone, basically, when Dr. Wily clones you, and you're in the pyramid, and just the way it looks and everything. I don't know, but there's just something about that just makes me want to see more of it. So I really got the feeling to beat that last level before you get to what's his name? The Yellow Devil.
The Yellow Devil.
Even though Mega Man 1 is tough as nails, and it certainly is unpolished, that's why it's number 4 on my list, I do enjoy those level designs and just the concepts they had. Again, it's the first game. They had nothing else to go off of, so this is it, Those Robot Master songs, while not the best in the series, some of them do still stick with me. I actually do like Elect Man's song a lot. I do like Cut Man's song a lot. Probably the hardest level for me is Ice. And everyone knows what part I'm talking about. After you use the disappearing blocks, you have to... Unless you use the little ice blaster thing. It's not an ice blaster. What is it? The thing you use to get across the open cavern at the end of it? Or
the wire thing. Or the magnet beam, I think it is.
Magnet, yeah, that's what it is. So when you get to that cavern part and you use the magnet, I don't use the magnet. I do it the actual way without the magnet. I don't cheapen that part in the level. That makes it twice as hard for me. I understand that, but I just do it that way because I want to feel the sense of accomplishment that I did it without using the magnet. It's just like on Yellow Devil, how you can pause the game on and off to kill him in 2 seconds. So it is an unpolished game. That's why it's number 4. I still like it a lot. I still enjoy the music. It's the first game. What can you say? How about you? What's your next one, Webb?
I do want to make mention too that Elect Man theme, like the do 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 do, it is totally Journey's "Whoa" from Faithfully.
It is.
I still love it though. Every time it comes up, it's like whoa. I have a sucker for it. It is a great little theme. It's one of the best ones on Mega Man 1.
I agree.
We're in the top 3 now. So we're in the top 3 Mega Man games.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Number 3 I have is Mega Man 5.
Wow.
And I am going to go out and defend this game. I'm going to defend this game here. I'm going to try it.
That's a hard task.
Okay. So, first of all, I fucking like Beat. You got a problem with that? You got a problem with the bird?
I mean, I like the robot dog better, but...
We all like Rush better, but Beat's okay, alright? You got a problem with Beat? He's a bird friend, he helps you. You got a problem with birds?
He's kind of useless, but yeah,
he's not kind of worthless, you piece of shit. He's perfectly fine. I can't yell at you with a straight face. I'm sorry. I can't be mean to you.
I know you want to because you're such a big Mega Man fan. And no, it's conflicting.
I can't be mean to you. What I like about Beat is that he actually helps you really destroy Wily at the end, which means that he is a really good reward for going out and seeking the letters that you have to find in each level to obtain him. It's like an actual reward for doing that search, because the Wily boss in 5 is pretty goddamn tough. 4 irritated me because of the whole, he's appearing in darkness, Wily is. So that one kind of just irks me for being a ridiculous fight. Cheap difficulty. 5 is legitimately tough because of how he does his appearances and how he attacks and how quickly he's moving. So he's legitimately tough, but Beat can home in on him and do damage to him really, really easily. So if you have Beat, you can use him. If you don't want to cheapen the difficulty, like, for example, like what you were saying with the Magnet Beam in Iceman stage, then you don't have to use Beat. But he's a good reward for making it that far and being able to use it. Unlike 6, where I don't have a lot of complaints about 6, so it's a solid game start to finish, I do have some problems with 5, but I think the things that I enjoy about it, I enjoy more than 6. Like, I enjoy the Robot Masters more. I think there's more variety in them, and they don't feel like retreads as much. For instance, Napalm Man. Interesting character design. Looks different and unique. He can shoot out fucking napalm canisters when you beat him. Great. Charge Man. He's a train. Not the best design, actually. I'll be fair with that one. That's a really bad idea. Starman. That seems like an obvious one that we should have had earlier. And he is waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds. Yeah, I had to work it in there. So, Starman is fun. Also has an interesting level design where there's low gravity, which plays similar to water levels, but not quite. So there's some variety there. Gravity Man is interesting because the level actually has a great design that plays around with gravity and different fields as you move through them. And his boss fight's interesting too because you have to hit him while he's switching between gravity planes. So it makes for an interesting boss battle. It's totally doable but challenging in its own right. Crystal Man, another interesting one. Different design. I really love Gyro Man. I love the gyro weapon too. It's great. I really just feel like that round of Robot Masters is a bit better than 4 for the most part. Again, except for Charge Man. Goddamn you, Charge Man. But at least he's not Toad Man or fucking Lightbulb Bright Man. So, even Charge Man's better. The music is not as memorable. Gravity Man has a great tune. Some people really like Charge Man's. I'm indifferent. The other complaint that I would have is that the Wily Castle has the recurring theme of fighting this Darkman character who just is not Darkman from Sam Raimi and played by Liam Neeson.
Just take the fucking bear.
But by the time you do fight him the third time, you do just say, "Die, Darkman, die."
That's true. You do say that.
Yes, die, Darkman, die. But the repeated use of him in upgraded forms, I get it. I know what they're going for. Just escalating boss battle, but I feel like it lacks creativity where the other games have more of that. But 5 really tried to introduce some different level stuff, whether it's the writing section in Wave Man, or the gravity sections, or the low gravity in Starman. I feel like it does just more fun things, and having to train on Charge Man, even if it's a stupid level, you're still, moving through it, and it's interesting. I like the fact that the charge shot in this game is a lot better than the one in 4, where 4 is just like a spindly little spiral. The charge shot in 5 actually looks like it packs a wallop. Like it's a larger blast that gives a more satisfying feel to it. And I like the idea of Proto Man going renegade in the story and having to take them down. But, spoiler alert, it's actually Dr. Wily behind it. So there's a lot of things that it does right. I really like the idea of having the end reward beat having that kind of like a reward for collecting things, where the other games is just like, well, you're stockpiling one-ups. So, great. Have fun with that. There's something great that I really enjoy about 5. And I for one, don't get beat down to death by those crystals dropping at Crystal Man stage. So I'm not saying that you just suck as a human being. You just suck at Crystal Man stage.
Well, again, it's random. There's nothing fun about random sometimes. You did remind me, though, that I do have one extra complaint about 5 I totally forgot to mention.
Of course you do.
And this is actually key to all Mega Man games. I'm not sure why they changed it in 5. You cannot spam any sort of abilities in 5 against Robot Masters. You can't spam them at all. It sucks. But that's just me. That's how I feel.
Well, I am so sorry that you're not able to cheaply fight bosses and you actually have to work for your victory. I am so sorry.
Yeah, I just like the idea of something that worked, and I don't like the idea of it being taken away. I guess I could see somebody fighting over for both parties of that, whether they like it or not. Me, personally, I like to be able to spam my powers, my mega powers, whatever they may be that I've stolen from a Robot Master.
Well, okay. Well, here's actually another legitimate, I find 5 to have a more balanced difficulty level in terms of, finding the balance between hard and easy, where 6, like you said, 6 is just easy for a Mega Man game. Mm-hmm. Still challenging at points, but easy. 5 has a much more nuanced balance. I don't find myself pulling my hair out with it. Well, actually, I don't find myself pulling my hair out with any Mega Man game. But Mega Man 9, we're not reviewing it, but 9 is just absurdly difficult. I can still beat it, and I can beat it in under an hour, but it pisses me off because of some of the things that it does with cheap difficulty. 5, I find to ride that balance between finding a good level of difficulty and being enjoyable. I know if I screw up, it's my own mistake, but some of the weapons in there, like Stone Man's weapon, is one of the worst. It just sends 3 rocks that spiral out into nothingness, and you have no chance of aiming it substantially or anything with it. It sucks. It's just a really bad weapon. It also introduces a melee weapon, the second in the series, where you do a slide that does damage, which is actually a pretty good idea. I'm surprised they hadn't come up with that earlier. It's a lot better than fucking Top Man's spinning bullshit. So anyway, that's my thoughts on 5. I really do enjoy the fact that it's got a nuanced difficulty level. The fact that it's just fun for me, I don't have much of a problem with it. I like the sense of reward for collecting all those letters to get beat. And I have a good time with it.
I think that's fair.
But you know what this means now?
Yes. My number 3.
Yes.
So my number 3, again, this list might not get surprising as we go down. At least mine won't. Mega Man 4. Now thinking about it, they should have just made Kodak Man a boss battle, and he could just flash you, and then the room would go white and you wouldn't know where he was at. Got flash in your eye. Kodak Man. They could have did a nice little crossover there. Anyway, Dr. Kodak. Not Kodak. He was an interesting character. Obviously, at this point, Wily's always the one creating the havoc in the Mega Man world. It was nice to see them change it up. On top of that, they add not only Dr. Kozak's levels, but now you have Wily's levels as well. The downside to that is when you use the password system, you can't go to Wily's stages if you've already beaten Kozak's. You can only go up to Kozak and then him to Wily, and you have to beat it all in one run. Otherwise, you have to start over. It's kind of BS. Other than that, I did agree with you though on the Robot Master's health being insane. Like they have an insane amount of health in this game. Not only that, but taking it down. Good luck. It's not easy. Fun fact, though, they did add a good Robot Master in this game at the last minute, Skull Man, who is a great Robot Master. Not one of my top fives, but a great Robot Master. This is a kind of a trope, too, of Capcom, is that in all their games, even going to Resident Evil, you can go anywhere. You can go to, maybe not Devil May Cry, but like a lot of their games, they always use bugs or animals as enemies. And in this one, you do find yourself fighting a lot of mini bosses. One of them's a giant hippo. One of them's a snail.
Yeah, what the fuck is with a giant hippo?
Yeah, it looks cool. They're all nice little additions, I think, to the gameplay because, you know, just going to the end of a level and fighting the Robot Master, by this point, you're used to it. Adding in little mini bosses, nice touch. The grappling hook, it's whatever. It's not really that intuitive. The Charge Mega Buster, however, good addition. I agree with you on that, Webb. That's rocking.
Glad you agree.
Instead of using, what's his name? Cheap attack? Sorry, beat? Yeah. You actually, in this game, you do get Eddie the Robot Helper, and Eddie is actually pretty cute. Oh. And it's nice that he shows up. I actually appreciate him showing up and just tossing me a health item, even if I don't need it most of the time.
Thanks, little buddy. I didn't need that energy pickup because, my weapon energy's full. I'm down to like 2 pieces of health, though. Could have given me that, you little fucker.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what brings it down for him. But other than that, he's pretty cute. Cute little helper.
I think if you yelled at him, he would just get sad.
I think he would just explode. Just be like, why? And then...
why are you yelling at me? Just gone. He flipped his lid.
Just starts singing Journey. What also gives it a little bit of oomph for me over the other 2 Mega Mans that we've gone through so far on my list. Dr. Kozak, he actually uses you as the prize for a crane game. He's literally in a pod. He's the crane. Unless you're like some Martian, you have been chosen. Farewell, my brothers. I go to a better place. But unless you're a Martian from Toy Story, it's a nice, interesting little fight. So I appreciate like all these little things they added to Mega Man 4. It's not specifically the best one in the series, but I like it. I like it a lot.
Well, even though I disagree with the praise that you've heaped on it, putting it this high, I respect your admiration for it, and I do agree that adding something like Dr. Cossack, even though they would repeat that trend every time now, it's like, oh, now it's Proto Man, oh, now it's Mr. X. That mix-up for things was a nice little change of pace, and I don't know, it gave it like a nice little burst of energy, even if it didn't amount to like, a really shocking moment, it still was good enough.
Yeah, just you could tell they were at least trying.
They were. Which brings us now to our number 2s, and it's going to be interesting to see how we have these ranked. Because if we reveal the one, we know what the other one's going to be.
It's true.
I guess I'll start off by saying that my number 2 is Mega Man 2.
Oh my gosh.
This is, depending on who you talk to, 3 and 2 are pretty much, they can be interchangeable because they both do so many things so well. I guess, even though 2 was my first Mega Man game, there's just, so I'm not nostalgia blind when I say that I think 3 is better. But I like that 2 really perfected the formula that would be to follow. But there are some things that I have a little bit of issues with. Again, this just shows the further refinement that 3 had. And this is it's hard to critique why 3 is better than 2 without talking about both games at the same time, I guess, in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, for example, Mega Man 2 and 3 both have amazing soundtracks. Like, I can pretty much sing you, like, just by vocalizing every song from start to finish in Mega Man 2. Like, from the opening theme to the end credits, I can do all of them, including the Robot Masters. Like, name a Robot Master from Mega Man 2.
Crash.
Dude. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. I could do the whole thing. And then it gets that change up when it goes do 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 do. It's great. Great song.
Yeah, we should just do like harmony videos where we're just both doing Mega Man.
Crypt of the Dude.
Crypt of the Dude. Welcome. Yeah, I said Crash because that is definitely my all-time favorite Mega Man boss theme.
If I had to pick oh my gosh, what would be maybe Hardman's theme from Mega Man 3? That's a really good one. Sparkman's theme in Mega Man 3 is really good. Metal Man theme in 2 is really good.
Oh man,
Flashman's theme is really good because it's got that great kick-ass intro. It's like that. But yeah. 2 introduced a nice feature that made the games more tolerable. You had the energy tanks you could pick up in 2. It also gave you weapons or items, not weapons, but items that you could use. Item 1, Item 2, and Item 3. Even though Item 3 and 1 were kind of redundant because you could use them similarly. But you could use 3 in areas to, try to spare on Item 1 usage. Those gave you more options to be able to get through levels or find different items, and they're great. It's such a wonderful addition to it. And then just the level design got so much better and more active. Like, if you go back and look at Cutman's stage in Mega Man 1, there's nothing in the background, it's just blue sky. Just plain. But look at Metal Man stage in Mega Man 2, you see these gears turning in the background. Like, it feels like you're in a factory. And it's great, those little touches. The difficulty is high, but not absurd. And they do some great things with not sprites, but backgrounds, too, to make some of the bosses. Like, in Wily Stage 1, you fight that big dragon. And that's, like, not so much a sprite, but it's a moving, like, background image with a hitbox on it. And it works so well for what they're doing that it just has this great sense of grandeur, and it's a huge threat because you're fighting that dragon on these 3 small little platforms, just a single block wide. So the tension's really high, and it's so great. I adore that boss fight, even though it's the only one that gets me really tense because the dragon's chasing you. So it's like this oh shit moment. It's like fuck, run from the dragon, and then you got to turn and fight the thing when you get to the end. It's fantastic. It does, however, to counter that great boss fight, it has the Boo Beam trap, which is the boss of Wily Stage 4, where you have to use the crash bomb to take out the little alarms that are shooting out pellets at you.
Yeah.
That boss fight can just fuck right off. I can beat it with no problem. I can, but it's a shitty-ass fight.
I enjoy it because there's something eerie about it that I like. Just cameras looking at you from all different angles and trying to kill you.
Well, you can call it whatever you want, but it's still shit.
I could see that most people don't like it, though. So that's fine.
The thing that gets me is that you have to use the Crash Bomber incredibly strategically, which I don't have a problem with, if they let you fill it up if you lose. But there's no way to refill the weapon afterwards. So if you have 5 lives left, and you die on that boss fight, you have no weapon energy left, you're screwed. You gotta go and die every time over in order to refill the weapon. And it's bullshit. It was not properly tested. They didn't think about it from that perspective. And that's one of the things that really hurts that fight. I also like the kind of ending twist where it makes you think that Dr. Wily is an alien. Mm-hmm. And then you just realize it's a holographic projection afterwards. So that's really cool. There's so many things about Mega Man 2 that are great, though I would also say that one of the weaknesses of it is that the Metal Blade makes things way too easy. They really overpowered that weapon. Right.
I'm kind of okay with it just because it makes the game easier. A fun thing to mention, too, is that the alien being a hologram but still able to hurt you, it's able to hurt you because it's using light. Dr. Light. Oh.
But here's the other thing that's interesting about it, or the bubble lead hurts it, because you're using water on electrical equipment and you're shorting it out.
Correct.
So it's kind of clever like that.
Yeah, there's some little bit of thought put into that, boss.
Which is also why the other attacks heal it, because you're shooting like energy at it for the most part, which is not going to help.
I agree.
But yeah, there's so many things to like about 2. Like we said, the kick-ass soundtrack, the refinements that it makes. But when we get to 3, I'll mention what I think it does better. So, unless, well, it depends, Stefan. What do you have at your number 2?
Well, I guess this is the point of contention between us. I am putting Mega Man 3 as my number 2. And here's the thing, before I even get into this, Mega Man 3 is a better game than Mega Man 2.
Oh boy, you're throwing curveballs at me now.
Yeah, but I prefer Mega Man 2 over Mega Man 3, and I'll tell you why when I get to Mega Man 2. But for Mega Man 3, what you do get in it, which is kind of interesting, is you do get Mega Man 3's robot bosses, and you get Mega Man 2's robot bosses again. So you get the best of both worlds, kinda. Again, this game plays a little bit on a trope. There's another fake Wily. And you do have, the extra stages. They introduced Proto Man, which for some reason in my notes, it autocorrected to Portuguese Man. And they introduced the slide. Now, if anyone went directly from Mega Man 2 to Mega Man 3 like I did, that slide is magic. It is actually a great, beautiful addition to Mega Man. I think going forward, I think the game that I use it the most in, that it requires the most out of it, even more than Mega Man 3, is Mega Man 7. So it's hung out in the series for quite some time. The slide is a big deal, and I do love it. So not that I want to take too much away from what you got to say, Webb. That's pretty much all the notes I had for Mega Man 3. They introduced the space levels, using rocket and everything. It's just great. Like all the introduction to that is great. People have always complained that it might be bloated, and I could see that. I could see that a lot coming from what you just got from Mega Man 1 and 2. So it depends. There's a couple big questions we'll have to ask here when we go to our number ones, like, do you like your Mega Man games simple or complicated? Do you like a load of levels or the right amount? Or do you like a short Mega Man game? What are the right amount of levels you prefer? And do you like a robot dog as your sidekick? Pepsi Man, question mark? Do you like Pepsi Man? So these are questions you have to ask yourself when you're going through a ranking of Mega Man games. What are the upgrades that worked for you? The music, the bosses, and anyway, I'd put Mega Man 3 as my number 2. And I think it's obvious now what my number 1 is and yours is.
Well, the things that I like more about 3 that put it above 2, even though I love the soundtrack, I think that Mega Man 3 has some better songs in it. Like, I really like the heights that it hits. I love Hard Man's theme, I love Spark Man's theme, I love Snake Man's theme. Snake Man's theme has that wonderful little change up where it's like that do 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 dun 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 dun, and it kind of just like slides in there. It's great.
Dun 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 dun. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just like little things like that work so wonderfully. It does have its own game-breaking skill that the Rush Jet is so overpowered in this game because you can move it anywhere you want to. It doesn't fly in a straight path like the Item 2 from Mega Man 2. And even worse or better, depending on how you look at it. When you jump, when you're in the air, it doesn't drain energy. So if you're just constantly jumping while on Rush, anywhere you can, you'll just extend that energy bar way out there. It's great. The slide really does add so much to the game in terms of being able to avoid attacks in new ways, get some distance between you and a boss, navigate through levels faster or more carefully, or find different areas to go through. Like, those little things are huge touches to the mechanics of it. And I like the fact that we get Rush. We get a character that personifies those upgrades. It adds a face to them instead of just these faceless items. Now you got a little buddy. Got a little buddy named Rush who's looking after you. So it adds character. And then not to mention, you get even more character because of Proto Man. Like, having that extra character in there to add to, like, the story and the mythos is nice. It's super interesting having him on there. And then finding out that he was, like, the original robot that Wily and Light designed. Like, you know, it's model number 00. He's Mega Man's brother, and he doesn't know it. So I really like a lot of what that has to offer. And the Wily bosses, like first, but like you mentioned, you have to fight the Robot Masters from 2 again, and what they call Doc Robot. And those fights are fun because you have to try to figure out, okay, what weapon that I have now is going to be effective against this guy from before.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, some of them are easy. Like, okay, well, it's Metal Man. I'll use the magnet on him. Works fine. But it can really challenge you to try to figure out what's going on with them to see what would work best. But the other thing with those fights is that they're trickier because Doc Robot, which is the name given to the shell that the programs are put into, has a much larger hitbox. So they're not as easy to avoid the first time around. To compensate, the game gets a little easier because you can carry more energy tanks than you could before. In Mega Man 2, you can only carry 4. In Mega Man 3, you can stockpile those sons of bitches. So there's a lot of things between the music and the little additions, like putting Rush in there, putting Proto Man. They just make for a better experience. The original NES game has problems with slowdown. Remasters of it, like on the Anniversary Collections, they've increased the CPU speed so you don't have that slowdown anymore. Not that I ever minded it, because, like, you know, it just gives you more time to think. But I love 3 so much for what it does and for what it offers. It has some of my favorite themes in the entire series, too, that aren't robot themes. Like, the stage select. It's my favorite stage select theme. That do 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 do. It's great. And then the password screen, it's got this happy little go lucky that's like do 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 do. It's great. I can't think of things that I would do better for Mega Man 3. I like the Robot Masters having like a good mixture, except for Top Man. And then the powers are well balanced, except for Top Man. And then you've got great level designs that are colorful and vibrant. And even Top Man has like these big cats that throw yarn balls at you. It's like, dude, what's with the giant cats?
Yes.
So, yeah, that's why I just adore 3. I love the soundtrack. I love the gameplay, the little refinements. It is my favorite Mega Man game from the original NES lineup.
It's an interesting list, I will say that. My last one is obviously Mega Man 2. What can you say? People are going to say, well, that's not interesting. I guess it's not, maybe. To me it is, because this is the game that made me get into Mega Man. It's completely accessible. It's not too hard. Obviously, Metal Man's power is overpowered. And I don't even know what to say about it. Like, the music is perfect. Every track in this game is perfect. I would change nothing. In fact, when a band called Bit Brigade does this live, and they've posted videos on YouTube, you can go look them up. They did a live video covering the whole Mega Man 2 soundtrack. I blast that. I blast it. I'll pop open a beer. I will sit here and draw my drawings for hours. It's just an amazing soundtrack. There's nothing to change about it. Mega Man 3... it's got a couple in there that are just okay, but for overall, Mega Man 3 is pretty solid. Doesn't stack up quite there. Again, Mega Man 3, a better game in some ways. Mega Man 2 doesn't... The thing is you don't really need the slide in Mega Man 2. Maybe you could use it in Quick Man stage, sure. That would make that stage more interesting if it was longer. But to me, this is the right amount of size on level design. This is the peak of... what I think when they looked at the sequel, they knew they had to make it better, because Mega Man 1, nobody thought that was going to sell for shit, and it did. So they had to make it better and bigger, and that's the thing I always respect about game design, is if you can pull that off, which is very hard to do in anything, any form of entertainment, the sequel always sells less. That's what everyone says. I'm sure you agree, Webb, right?
With minor, notable exceptions, but yes, for the most part, you're right.
Yeah, they're like obviously Terminator 2 and shit, but RoboCop 2 didn't do that. So anyway, There's a couple things here to equate to why 2 is the game it is then and today. All the Robot Masters are perfect. I wouldn't change a single thing about them. I wouldn't change a single thing about how Mega Man controls. Definitely better than 1. It set the standard for all the Mega Man games after. I'm sure they didn't change too much. It's just perfect. There's nothing that needs to be added or taken away. And that's why I put Mega Man 2 at the top of my list. Although, again, Mega Man 3, in most ways, is a better game.
So to recap your list, you have it as 2, 3, 4, 1, 6, 5.
Yep.
Okay. And mine was 3, 2, 5, 6, 4, 1. So I don't think we didn't agree on any position, did we?
We did not. But, that's the good thing about Mega Man. Maybe we should reiterate this, too, is that, like, I hate 5 a lot, but overall, there's not really a bad Mega Man game out of the first 6 that came out. I think they're all pretty good, generally. Maybe one's a little unpolished, but...
Yeah, I mean, that's the complaint I would levy against 1, is that it's unpolished. But then again, it's the first one, so it's going to be unpolished.
Right.
If that was the only Mega Man game to come out, would it be heralded as a classic? Yes, it would be. It would be heralded as a classic. Right up there with Castlevania and some of the other, like, hard platformers that are known for the day. But because the only reason why 1 is so low on my list is because it was outdone by successive games. That's the only reason. And that's not a bad way to find to find yourself in. If you're being lowered on a list not because of your failings, but because of what you inspired to succeed you, that is not a bad position to be in.
I agree. There's nothing you're going to lose if you went right now and go and picked up the Mega Man Legacy Collection for, PS4 and whatever it came out on, Switch, everything, 3DS. You're not going to lose any. You're going to have a great time playing it. Truly, these are classics for a reason. And, contrary to whether people think X is better, the X series, or not, the originals will always stand the test of time, in my opinion. You got nothing to lose by going back and playing them. It's going to be a great experience if you can handle the difficulty.
Yeah, and even then, I think you'd agree with me that once you find the groove, you kind of fall into it, and the games get easier once you find that groove.
That's true, and it's definitely a groove you have to, even going back to it, you have to remind yourself, oh yeah, right, Mega Man, here we go.
Yeah, it's something I found myself, because the first 6 games, and then 9 and 10, follow a very set kind of a formula in terms of gameplay, where if you know, like, oh hey, something might jump out at me from this pit, or oh hey, this is the last pixel I can stand on before I fall off the cliff, so this is where my jump has to be to make this work. Or hey, I should only push the button this hard in the water level, otherwise I'm going to jump too high and go into the spikes. Or hey, I can take some damage here, so that if I do hit the spikes, I won't die, unless it's Mega Man 1, where you don't have invisibility frames on the spikes. So if you start to know the ins and outs of the games, you can really start to work your way through them at a pretty quick clip. To where I played through 1 through 6 in the 2 days before we were originally going to record this a couple days ago. I just blasted through all of them with no issue. But then again, I've been playing these games and always revisit them, so for me it's, just another day at the office. For others, I suspect it will not be. But I still adore this series to death. Mega Man is one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite video game character of all time. I adore the little blue bomber who could. And I hope that some people are inspired to go back and revisit these games to see what they're all about and see if our criticisms and praise hold up.
Correct. I wish we could all go back to being kids again and just having the whole summer to figure them out and learn the ins and outs, but I think if you give them a chance, you'll be fine. You'll get there.
Yeah, and like you said, if you pick them up on the 3DS, which is maybe the ideal way to play them because you can just, put the system, close down the clamshell, come back to them later. That pick up and go element of them is actually really well suited because you defeat a robot master, close it down, move on to it later. Gotta take a shit, bring the 3DS widget, beat a Robot Master, get off the pot.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention too, and I didn't even find this out till after I beat them on PS4, but it does have a save feature in between the levels, so you can also just use that and cheat your way through it if it gets too difficult, I guess.
And I know that the Switch version has a rewind feature to where if you really screw up, you can just hold down the L button and rewind so you can get through the games faster.
Yeah, but don't pass these up just because they're old school. They're definitely worth a look.
Yeah, just for the soundtracks alone, they're great.
Oh yeah.
Well, with that being said, any further comments on Mega Man?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Well, I'm good too, and hopefully you guys, like I said, you enjoy this. Revisit the games. Leave your rankings in the comments. Just rank them from top to bottom. Like we said, mine was 325, 641. Stefan's was 234, 165. So we'd like to see what yours are and what your reasoning for them is. Why do you feel some games are lower than others? What would your definitive ranking of the games be? That's the fun part, is discussing it. Yeah, that's the fun part about any kind of debate with things when you're, calm and appreciate another person's company, like I appreciate yours.
Yeah, even though we don't see eye to eye on this, I love doing this all the time. Although, for people who do comment and have the same listing and ranking as me, you're my people.
And for those of you with the same ranking and listing as me, you can take privilege in the fact that knowing you're right while everybody else is wrong.
I mean, it's subjective, but it's also
it's not.
You're wrong. But,
Oh dear. Oh dear. There's another corner of the Crypt explored as we discuss those games, and we may return to the later series as Stefan hasn't played a lot of the future games beyond these, correct?
That's true. I have not. I've played Legends 1 and 2 and just these games 1 through 6.
So it'll be we'll have a lot more to discuss, and I'm looking forward to it as we continue along with more episodes. And of course, leave suggestions in the comment section for what you'd like to see us cover. Always welcome to know if it's a comic, a game, a television show, a film, a web video. Leave it here for us to explore and then uncover it in the crypt. So Stefan, thank you so much for being here, my friend.
Yep, thanks for everyone listening.
And from both of us to all of you, thank you once again, as the crypt is closed.